point out that this, she had an O face going on. It went like this. Oh, me! All right. Who here likes Death Note?
I love Death Note.
All right, I approve. It got a little stupid long, but I liked it. It was good. It was not complete shit. So back in the day, and when I say the day, I mean when rocks were soft and I was young. Before audience got popular and I was the fucking hipster that liked it before everybody else did. So we had Robotech, we had Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yeah. What?
We had we had Akira, we had Ghost in the Shell. We had what the fuck? This is my lawn, get off it. That was late 90s, early noughties. Fuck you.
Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon.
Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon, yeah, that's what we had. That was the end of the list. Then Ranma came out, and you could get it for $40 per VHS tape that you sent a $25 to $40 money order to the States for, and they would ship it to you, and it took about 6 weeks round trip. Goddamn. So here's the thing. Here's what would happen. We'd only get one series every 2 or 3 years. And there was only like 1, maybe 2 companies that were bringing shit over to start. And they were just like literally dudes working out of their closets or out of their basements or out of their garage, right? So what happened then was basically those guys would go to Japan or they'd be in the scene and they'd be going to the conventions and they'd be aware of what was coming out in Japan. And all they do is like, okay, we got one series we can grab. They're not going to gamble. They're not going to be, oh, here's that art house film by Satoshi Kon. It's going to be, okay, what sells the most in Japan right now? What is the most popular? What is the best? Run 1/2? Okay, let's start bringing that over. So what happened was we'd only get one new series every year to 3, and then as more companies came over and they started bringing more stuff over, we'd get 1 or 2 new series a year. But they'd be all the very best series because they were the best bets for selling well here. So what happened was, as the market got larger, right, then the companies could afford to gamble on different shows. So, So in Canada, if you want to produce a show, it costs, you've got this certain level of resource that you've got to produce, you've got to have on hand, and you can produce a show here. And in Japan, if you want to produce a show, you've got a certain level of resources you've got to produce. But if you want to get something from Canada to Japan, or a show from Japan to Canada, you've got this, which is going to be your translation costs, and your licensing fees, and shipping of stuff, and a whole bunch of shit, right? That's an extra cost, right? So for something to get from nothing to selling well in Japan costs this much, but to get it over the hill into Canada, it costs that extra stuff. So that hill got higher, which meant that if your average quality of stuff in Japan was here, you'd only get the really good stuff would have a big wave, and it looks like a dick. And so up here you have your Rama 1/2 year and your Ghost and Shells, your Akira, and that stuff would get over the hill and then pour down into Canada. International economics with tits. Okay. So when Japan finished giving Canada a tip job now. So what happens is, as the market gets larger, the incremental cost to bring any particular show out lowers. Because there's 5. Come on, man! The small ones are nice too. Because more people are familiar with the process, and there's more lawyers who know how to do the licensing, and the companies have a system set up where they can ship stuff. So now you're not just getting Ranma and Ghost in the Shell, you're getting stuff like Kurama no Omocha or Magic Knight Rayer that, while very popular, were not top sellers, right? So, so this is like the 80s. You had Robotech, and Gundam, maybe. And then the 90s, you'd get Ranma and Akira and Ghost in the Shell. And then in the noughties, it just, it started up here and then came down here. And you got stuff like Kodomo no Omocha and Death Note kind of stuff, right? And then
fan subs.
Well, no, fan subs were kind of, actually a lot of companies use fan subs as telling where on this scale a lot of the stuff is, because fan subs is a sign of how interested we as a community are in the show, right? So there's, Anime Nation, they used to be an online retailer, and they switched to licensing, and they just went, okay, what's being fan sub? We'll grab that. Because they're like, well, fuck, we don't know what's going to sell, but these guys are interested in it already, so there's guaranteed sales there. Anyway, so what's happened is, now in 2012, the sewage float stuff. Right? We're still getting great shit, right? But there's now 100 shows coming out every year, and the bottom 10 are just fucking dog shit. Because, I'm pretty sure we'll have some stuff showing up here. I'm going to be like, oh, this series sucked ass. And it did, honestly. But that's not a bad thing. It's because things got so easy. We're getting so much more stuff now. That we can all enjoy. Like it's a lot easier to get into because there's so much more stuff we have available to us. So I think that's great. International economics explained with dick pictures. Anyway, so Death Note is, in my opinion, around here. Like, I'm glad the hill came down this far, because I don't think Death Note is. I think we'd agree Death Note is good, but it's not one of those fighting shows every 14-year-old boy will find as popular shows, right? Right. It's not mainstream. It's a little bit art house, which is great. So we've got Death Note 1 through 7 in the Viz Media translation.
$10. Oh, $50.
50.
Wow.
She's like, shit, man.
Wow, that
You
jump.
want to masturbate over Death Note? It's that hard. You go right ahead.
I ain't stopping you.
So we got 50 here. 55. 60. See, he's serious about snuff porn. Like, I can't wait for him to write Pixie Misa's name down. You see in the series. Fuck that bitch, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Where were we? 60? 60 here. Do I hear 65? 65, thank you. Do we hear 70?
Uh-oh.
Dude. I can go so far, but this year I'm on tape.
Yep.
You're on tape last year.
So clearly my thesis advisor can't use YouTube either. I had an ACE interview. They're like, before we graduate you from seminary, we want to assure ourselves that you are of the correct moral character, that you're not just, going out and fucking bitches and snorting the weed. And I'm like, serious face, okay, let's do this. And the worst thing, they were like, okay, so, and this wasn't my thesis event, they weren't talking about my schoolwork, they were talking like, okay, so we've noticed you do this, could you explain that? And they're like, so about your language, and I'm like, yep. And they're like, you cuss a lot, and I'm like, you're absolutely correct. And they're like, do you have a defense for that? I'm like, yes, I do. So a lot of people are like, oh, Christians aren't allowed to cuss. Can anyone tell me the verse in the Bible where it says Christians aren't allowed to cuss? No, you fucking can't. There's verses in the Bible that are pretty clear. They're like, okay, don't use language to destroy people. That's that's the summary of all the verses that talk about language. There's don't use rough language, and that's how it's translated a lot of the time. But basically, the gist of it, when the Bible talks about language, they're like, don't use it to harm people. Use language to build people up, right? That's the thing. So I honest to God, regularly get people come up to me and say, you're getting, or now got your master's in theology, yeah. You swear a lot though. I'm like, yeah. Doesn't that make Jesus mad? I'm like, okay, let me point out that Jesus is a guy who walks into a church and goes, there's a lot of people selling shit here. I need to solve this problem. His response was, get the fuck out! That was his response. So I'm like, I don't think that the upper limit for Christians is shut Shucky darns. Just leave. You're a bad, bad man. I don't think that's the limit there. So. No. Well, that was effective. Clearly, I'm really good. Maybe that is all I need. Okay, so for the rest of the night, it's all going to be shucky darns, naughty things.
Please don't.
No.
Look at the rest.
All right, where were we? I was selling Death Note.
The guy that just left.
So we're back to, what was it?
No, he was outbid.
He was outbid by you for
Oh, okay,
65, I think it was. Yeah, okay, you're still in the lead. Feel free to bid against yourself, and we'll just stand here and listen to you count by fives. The art in Death Note is good. Did they ever explain what's his name's obsession with apples?
I think it's like crap to him.
So yeah,
It's
Right, no, I get that, but why apples? Why not like, he's like, oh god, apples, they're such lively things. I'm like, why isn't he like, 5-year-old boys, they're so lively. Obviously apples taste better, made more often, but symbolism. The apple, and okay, sin into the world. Okay, that makes sense.
Back where he comes from.
Symbolism. That's a great explanation. Can anyone explain to me why this is in the book? And you're all sitting in your seats. You're like, oh, the professor's asking. How do we answer? It's symbolism. Can anyone explain to me why on page 75, the whale, blah, blah, and he shoots him with an arrow, and symbolism. Ah, yes, symbolism! There's dicks everywhere! Which, frankly, is... Seriously, if you get into, like, interpretation of literature, dicks are everywhere in every... We don't even think about it. We talk, like, we write a book, like we as a culture will write a book, and if you're thinking about it, like, let me put it this way. Harry Potter, the series, right?
Yep.
Not a particularly dirty series, like at least not for the first 3 books. It gets a little dark and guru at the end, but it's not like, there's not a whole lot of fucking going on, right?
No.
Okay, replace the word wand with the word wang and read it again. I'm serious, right? Uncle Vernon gripped Harry's wang firmly and wouldn't let it go. Like you just switch that word and you're seeing the symbolism all of a sudden. And it's everywhere.
All of a sudden, my childhood is gone.
Well, that's why you come here. Your childhood behind. It's like, but Hermione was... I could never go back.
I'm scarred.
Let's do it.
A silvery white stream flew from the tip of his wand. Did you hear that? That's in the book.
Yep.
He's casting. He didn't want to think about his mother, or did he? So what I'm saying is, in the West at least, dick symbolism is everywhere. I think it's in the East as well. They're just more like, yeah, we talk about dicks. What's your problem?
The mother's number was only in the movie, not in the book.
Yeah. No, there was the phrase, he didn't want to think about his mother, or did he? It's in the book. It's not really firm, but yeah. So anyways, Death Note for 65, I think it was. Going once, twice, sold, thank you, sir.